First of all, on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I'm Kenneth Martin. I've been lucky enough to know this family for a really long time when I was first a young man at my bar mitzvah in 1970. And one of the few families that knew me when I came back to Denver was Paula and Jenny. And whenever I looked at her, it was like looking at my own parents. And then when I came back, Debbie's beautiful 3 kids would play in the same park with mine because we lived right next to each other. And they grew up together and went to school together, played basketball. And so I feel like I'm here with my own kids. So as I sing an opening song from my good friend Paula, I'd like to open with just a little bit of Eshet Chayim and then the 23rd song. Eshet Chayim beautiful saying, that the crown of the elderly is their grandchildren. Thank you very much. That-
Dichtam le David Shamremi El the season bar Kamar him and the Rata the ones on the level of Deutsche Mashmara Tema Adire Festival. You were to some Akar and Haru Val after this game Yomo as our Schmitz was at the living of Scotland, the place after living the Rally Havali, not the Timmy of Napo Shopali. Warren as a Noashi, Sony after this years, is that like some in the Lemon. Talking so much we need to go to the way I'm sorry you should do better. Started naturally so I think I'll be a shot. Very time so it was small as never much. Say a few words specifically to Debbie. Also the story in the Talmud says that Yossi was blind. Every time his mother came to the room, stand up. Asked him how you know. He said because he felt the Shekhinah, felt Hashem's presence extra in the room, coming into the room, so he knew that his mother came in. Obviously, the mom and graduation. What I can share is that before I spoke to Debbie at length. She shared with me a lot about had the mom, how much being born, she really decided to be a doctor. Jewish mom. The opposite was true as well, is how much being a doctor, how much respect we gave her, and how much we helped her in the last many years, all the health challenges that she had. Obviously, it's very painful to know that you've done everything you have to do. Child, ultimately, keep it. That's ultimately all we have. That we have to pass it down to the next generation. That one thing you can't say so much is your mother was a warrior. Something you worried so much. As we say, I kept laughing inside. And for somebody else who worried so much. Passed it down very well to the daughter. Literally, all you do is worry about the children.
She was a warrior or warrior?
A warrior and then a warrior.
Okay.
So you worry a lot, right? And that's all you do is worry so much about the children. But then the truth is, I want to say that I stand witness. Mom's not here in this room. Later, she was in this room. I'll stand witness on her. Say that I know you never be daughter. Everything daughter should give, turn your life around, you change everything, you cancel whatever needs to be canceled, you put things aside, just in order to do it's all literally like the way a proper Jewish person is supposed to behave. Parent, it's all behave, something you've done 100%. No, your mother knows and she thanks you all the time spent giving her. And I can also be witness to know that because of the way you treated your mom and watch the way your children treat you, and that comes from somewhere. And your children very, very well. I love them very dearly, you know. And that legacy today will continue with the Hashem next generation. That's the reason.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank everybody for coming today. I did hand this out in the back here. My mom, Paula, Hutt, Carl Duba, Doug there, baby, passed away at the age of 80. Friday morning, 5/8/2022, at 1:14 p.m. at Rosemont, Baker, Mayfield Park, Denver. My mom loved her baby at 801. And actually wanted me and some of her grandchildren to have that part of their needs. Paula was born in Philadelphia on November 17, 1953. And then she called Papa. They FaceTimed her. She grew up in a fashionable and Jewish section of Philadelphia called Strawberry Mansion, which is now a slum, and it's the lowest income place in Philadelphia right now. Her sister Lee was 7 years younger than her, and Lee had type 2 diabetes. So most attention was found with Lee, and I did my original attention. She was sort of a quiet, pretty, studious person who didn't get much attention. She helped out in her father's car garage, working with bargains for her. In high school, where she took the bus to get. She was a summer camp counselor in Poconos. And was disappointed because one of her first counselors gave her a book for profit instead of giving her a tip. Her family was of modest means, and her mom grew up frugal. One of their uncles, one of my grandfather's brothers, moved in, and that caused a lot of family tension. She went to Philadelphia High School for girls, and took a bus to get there. It had very great, but not completely straight A's. She went to Drexel College, where she majored in home economics, which I think, looking back, is really a great major. It's unfortunate it's no longer a major. Really fun and maybe a little bit, but it really taught her how to budget, how to do nutrition, cooking, sewing, and other skills. She gave Chuck Barris the class clown, and he became famous as others to come Chuck gave. However, she decided to marry the football star instead of their class clown, and in 1955, when she was 22, she married my dad, Paul. In a Drexel. I think she didn't really think that much about getting married, which is something that was happy to people. I think she was fairly happy when she first got married, like being a housewife. In 1958, she drove across country to Denver. This was because her mother, my grandmother, had asthma, and Denver was known as a clean place, clean air, a good place to live with asthma. She'd always told me the story. She said she conceived me the day of the bride, December, February 1958. And this, as I said, when I was born, she said, my son's doctor. We lived in several places in the east side of Denver, on St. Paul Street, which is like to Poplar Avenue, in Jersey City Street. My sister Debbie was born in 1961. Debbie thought my mom favored me because she thought I was smarter, but I think she thought this. My dad was a wholesale clothing salesman and a manufacturer's representative. He got transferred to California in 1963, where we lived in Redwood City. We're not adults, I'm with adults. The marriage started to unravel during California parties with my dad's mental health issues. And they reported around 1966, and everybody was back to Denver. Her parents had remained with them, so she was happy to be in the same city with them. And then looking back, I think she was very proud of her children. She was both supportive and encouraged independence. She helped me get a job at Denver Public Library as a shelfer. When I was 14, I told me a lot of my age, just at the age of 16. She transferred me to a different junior high school in Denver. I out of go into Hill because I was too smart to go and corrected the teacher. We always had nice Shabbos dinners to celebrate the holidays and the traditional Jewish upbringing. We actually moved to right next to that Joseph Synagogue. She had various jobs as a single mother. She worked in her father's used car lot in the west side of Denver, selling Chevrolets, but never Ford. She was a substitute school teacher. However, her best job was at the Aurora Student Academy. Guidance counselor. She helped wayward kids. The kids loved her and thought she was really cool. We did live frugally. She had the financial issues wasn't that good. Was her divorce. However, she still saved up money and took us off to Mexico twice. And we went on some camping trips around Colorado, often with some of the boyfriends. We bought one Camaro when I was 16. The first was on Montclair Street, Cherry Street. We worked for several years in the next to the Colorado Medical Center. And then we moved to Hudson Street, right behind that Joseph Synagogue, which is a traditional synagogue that merged with the MH. And we went to school there. Saturday school. She lived the rest of her life, I think, 7 months in that house. She met Sharon Hutt at square dancing classes and went out for a couple of years before marrying him on March 25th, 1979. She was quite happy being married to Jeremy and spent a lot of time traveling, where they would go on a big trip twice a year. Some of the places she went to include Israel, Egypt, Thailand, Indonesia, Turkey, Russia, Italy, France, England, Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Mexico, and several Caribbean islands. However, I think her favorite trip was the Galapagos Islands, where eventually she made a collage of all the animals that were inhabited at those islands, and that hangs in her house. She traveled a little less around the States, but did go to Alaska, and she'd like to go to Aspen in the summer. She would always pose in front of a famous site on her trip with the glamorous. Jeremy did fairly well as a geophysicist and a financial planner, so my mom didn't work. Box fell on my mom, and she was able to get a settlement from a grocery store. My mom pioneered the Play Club, which I think we're talking about, and she stressed nutrition and eating healthy both over time. My mom loved genealogy and hired a genealogist named Joyce to help organize the family history. She had multiple genealogy books kept in her cabinets that showed where in Ukraine most sides of her family was from, how they lived into America, old records, and all about the family members. Every time I would go together, she wanted to look over genealogy books and especially read her 30 Things autobiography. She also loved like her vacuum cleaner and washer dryer from the 50s. Thinks the old appliances were the best. The only new appliance she ever bought was the refrigerator. She hated it. My mom developed autoimmune disease and was eventually diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome. She was fairly healthy most of her life, though quite active. However, when she got older, she developed eye problems with Sjogren's, and unfortunately lost one of her eyes. She had more trouble walking and developed what's called sunset, where she would get tired around 4 p.m. and have to lay down. When I called her in the morning and asked her how she was doing, she always says, "I'm better point." We would talk regularly, at least twice a week on the phone, and she enjoyed her calls. In the last 3 years, she had 2 wonderful treatment helpers, Naomi and Elsa. They were very great for her. Her health suddenly worsened in 2021, right after her birthday, around that we had over Thanksgiving. She couldn't walk anymore, but then we started declining. Then we took her to various hospitals, rehab hospitals, care facilities, until she moved to Mark at Parkins Mayfair in June 2022. The manager of the place that was 2 blocks from home, to walk her easily. She probably passed away from the gastrointestinal bleed that we investigated. That's you're doing perfect. My mom had 88 full years of life. She loved her children. She was called mom, lovely. She loved kissing on the head and kissing on her head. Mom, I miss you and I love you. Because you're full back. You're so happy. Especially when they share with 40-something years of being married to her, her husband. Yeah, he was doing a great job taking care of her. That's solid there, except for words, and followed by bed, and many people in my life. And I don't think I have met anyone that has a heart for Hashem, heart for Jewish people, heart for his family. Thank you, Rabbi Yisrael Wilhelm, rabbis, congregation, BJ, Cousin Goldstein, all the friends of Paula, my amazing grandmother. Thank you so much for honoring her today. Your presence to our family means everything to us. We're a small family, but we love each other so much. We are so grateful that we get to celebrate the wonderful person that my grandmother was today and throughout the next 11 months, as my mom and my uncle Theodore will be
sitting Shiva, and we will be saying Kaddish for her and elevating her soul just as she wanted. To the rabbis of the community, Rabbi Franklin, Rabbi Haitovsky, to the doctors, Dr. Amy Kelmanson, Dr. Stephen Alex, Dr. Corman, thank you for everything. To Elsa and Naomi, we are dead to you. We are so lucky to have you part of our family. We look forward to celebrating in happiness and simcha with you. My grandmother couldn't thank you enough for being her friend, for always being there for her. To my cousins who traveled from Los Angeles this morning, Nora, Caleb, and Gideon Friedman, so proud of you three. Your brother was so proud of you. Be proud of your family, where you came from, and know that we all love each other and will always be there for each other. My amazing siblings, I don't know what I would do without you. Thank you for always singing loudly every single Shabbos, even though we might not have wanted to be as loud, to sing along with our buddy and always do the Birkat Hamazon, the prayers after we eat, together out loud with her. That was our tradition we did together. To the amazing families of this community that stood by us and were there for us in our most challenging times. Thank you to the Greensteins, the Green Hutts, the Sackets, and to the entire extended community and friends that brought by food and flowers and sent messages and texts that meant the world to our family, and we are forever grateful. As I mentioned, my 3 first cousins and my 2 siblings, there are 6 of us total, and it was my greatest honor to be the firstborn grandson of Paula. I take to every day, I take much pride and strength in doing what's right and being a mensch always. I learned much Yiddish from my puppy, and the family name Benjamin that I carry of the namesake of my grandfather Benjamin Milmon, may he rest in peace, is the greatest pleasure and honor. I feel very privileged and lucky to carry his name. Uncle Theodore, I know this has been a very difficult time. And Danielle, with the passing of your mother so recently, and with the passing of Paula, this has been a very difficult few days, at least for our family. I love both of you so much, and I'm excited for a wonderful life together in Colorado and in California. I'm a dick. Can't thank you enough. Showing all of us exactly what Rabbi Yisrael Golan said. To do the right thing sometimes is hard, but for you, it was just who you were. Always sacrificing, but not even sacrificing, because this is what you always wanted to do. And my siblings and I cannot thank you enough for being the greatest mother in the world and for teaching us to be proud Jews
love you so much. I'll always be there for you, as you were there for all of us and for your mother. Your mother loved you more than anyone in the world, and would constantly ask about you. I'm so happy, even in her waning health, all the moments we got to spend together with her, which were a lot. To my grandfather, Jeremy, thank you for bringing so much love to my family. The last 44 years have been magical because of you. The biggest mention I know, I love you. I'm so sorry. I know we weren't expecting this on Friday in the afternoon, but it's my rabbi and my spiritual inspiration said to me that when someone passes in the afternoon of the Sabbath, before the Sabbath, is a very holy time, and it's set aside for the righteous. I'm going to hold on to that sentiment for my life. Raised in the Orthodox community, going to Hutt and the Denver Jewish Day School, how lucky my siblings were to be able to go to these wonderful institutions. And most importantly, I look around this room right now and I feel at home. This chapel, the members of this shul, my brother and I got so much joy to sing the Anim Zemiros and the Adon Olam, the prayers at the end of the davening, and every time we would look out on the women's side of the Chitza, and there they were, our three favorite women, my sister, my mother, and my buddy, Paula. Such joy we got to see that we got to be mentioned and show that off for her. It was a big honor in my life. I've been taught by many amazing rabbis and many unbelievable teachers, and there's been one Jewish concept that I knew was very black and white, and was always something that was interesting to me, and that's something I want to share with you. And I'll leave everyone with this, that at the 613 commandments of 613 mitzvot, we don't know what their equivalents are. So when we do pass on to the world to come, we don't know if observing the Sabbath is more important than doing this commandment or that commandment. And I always have a little pushback to this idea, because of the way my mother treated my grandmother. I always knew that there was one concrete commandment out of all of the 613, that if each one of us can treat each other with kindness, and if we can treat our parents the way they want to be treated, it's one of the greatest things that we can do on this earth. Mom, thank you for being a role model to the community. Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for being a friend to your mother. I want to leave you all with an invitation that there is a long-standing club that we have been running in our family. It's really a no pressure, no non-membership club, where all you need to do is whatever food you take, you have to finish all of it, every meal. And if you do that, you can be a part of the coolest club in Colorado that might have been started in 1957, 1958. My great-grandparents and grandparents settled in Denver. So I'd like to invite you all to join the Clean Plate Club together as we remember Paula, my amazing puppy, friend, and grandmother.
And thank you all for being here. I just wanted to share a few things. We were very lucky to have, grandparents. We knew my mom's father really well. Paul, who passed away over 4 years ago now. Yes. of people don't necessarily have that, and we were very fortunate to have very strong connections to our grandparents and to know them well. Certainly was a product of my mom and the value that was placed on previous generations. My grandmother and Jeremy would come over for Shabbos meals. I always tried to help out and prepare the meal. I really loved cooking for my grandmother. She was a great cook too, and I think I really took a lot of, I emulated my mom and grandmother a lot. So I think I get a lot of qualities from them. I'm one of the grandchildren who has Milmon. As Theodore mentioned, my grandmother really cared about genealogy and ensuring that future generations would have access to what happened before. I think a lot of families don't have that and don't necessarily know maybe we came from a certain country. But she really invested a lot of time in this. And it was something that it was so important for her to do, but it wasn't something really for her. But it was for us. And she had the foresight to know, and the understanding to know that knowledge of the past, without it, it's very, very hard. It's not impossible, but it really helps to be in the present and to live into the future. And that's something I certainly got from her. My main interest in life is film, and I was able to spend, starting in January of last year, I started filming my grandmother and Jeremy. And I went up to their house and filmed them in conversation. I was able to record a lot of things, about family stories and histories, and I knew there would be a project put together just about our later years. So the first film that I finished is about my grandmother, and I will be showing it at the Shiva later. And be happy to share it with anyone. And I was hoping just to capture her at that point in her life and to have something like she did, where she has a 30-page autobiography, all this stuff about our family. And now that she's no longer with us, the purpose of telling that story to me was after someone's life ends, their story doesn't necessarily end. And it's put on to us to take the history and the stories of previous generations and to remember it. I was driving around Denver, I got in, I'm living in New York now, and I was driving. It's always nice to come home. And when someone passes away, life does continue, and it keeps going on. But there is something certainly that's changed. And I could feel it, in the air. It's something, a presence has been lost. I know my mom and Ben were there when the life went out of my grandmother, and it went with the world and into its next journey. But really, life, continues. And so just as from this perspective of caring about family history, really it's on us to live our lives impacted by those people. I know I carried my grandfather, Pa with me, and I changed because of my grandmother and my grandfather. So I'm just grateful to have had them in my life and be a guiding light for me. It helped me to understand and to ultimately be able to go out and live my own life. So grateful for my family, the support that we have for each other. Really wonderful thing to have family.
Thank you everyone for being here, and I love to say my mom's best friends and everyone supporting us. Thank you so much. I wrote a couple words down, so speak from that. We had a special name for my grandmother, Old Mommy. We called her Old Mommy because she was our older mom. My grandmother, Mom, and I loved being 3 generations of strong, determined, and loving women. My grandmother, my old mommy, taught me to be an independent woman who holds her head high and stands up for others and for ourselves. Old mommy was our role model, our light, and the woman who raised us and taught us all to approach life with courage, grace, and gusto. We emulate each other and hold each other's souls within our bodies and hearts. Old mommy was an incredible homemaker and seamstress. She has inspired me to pursue my passion in sewing and fashion design. Today, I'm wearing her dress and jewelry, most notably her wedding ring. She always liked to present herself in a glamorous manner, which my mom and I have taken upon ourselves as well. We will forever hold my grandmother's spunk, adorable attitude, and love for her family. She was so proud of all of her family, all of us and her grandchildren, and she made many sacrifices throughout her life to ensure that my mom and uncle had a passion for education and treating others with kindness. We share a deep love and closeness with each other as we come from a unique situation of a family of divorce, hard times, but also really great times. She was able to travel and had an extremely deep love for her husband, Jeremy. They shared a wonderful life together and with all of us. As we have a very tight-knit family, we include each other in all of our accomplishments and sorrows. In this very chapel, she would ask me to give me her ear to tell me a secret. Her voice wouldn't quiet because she didn't know how to tell a secret because she loved to share. We shared thousands of meals and Jewish holidays together, and we will forever cherish those memories. I love you so much, old Mom, forever and always, and I love you so much, Mom.
First off, I think everyone who's here, faces look some familiar, some don't, but you guys, I'm sure you guys are all best family friends of, especially my cousins, my aunt, my dad, my cousins. I think I'll always remember about Bubby. That she used to have this kind of love and this passion, this happiness that she passed on to me, my brother and my sister, my cousins. And her house would just be open. She wouldn't care if I'm coming in at 3 a.m. from LA with my dad. Thankfully, I was able to spend a lot more time with Bubby. Her house was open. Had a lot of great talks. It feels weird. It feels scary. As I lost my grandmother 2 weeks ago. Now I lose another one. But I'm losing Bubby. I'm not losing her. I'm gaining her strength. I'm gaining her positivity. I'm gaining her love, her soul, whatever she has taught us. It's moving forward, so she's not lost. Not gone. Because if I keep the memories alive that my cousins and I, my brother and sister, my grandfather, my aunt, my dad. Where's the bad? Only talking about the good. So she could not know. But I would also like to thank and say my deepest condolences Baby, Sharon, so sorry. Go through this. With your anxious child, and love you. And I know right now, hold on. Also, it's my best 100% rated star aunt, so I'm so blessed to have him. I know we've had some hard times, but I know that we've all gone through it and we all gained strength from it. And I think that strength also came from love. Hard times can really turn out positive. As much as I've heard of how much work you put in for your mother, honestly wish I would have been there a little bit more for you to give you a little break. We're tired of you, endlessly. And I'm sure that Bobby and as your mother still looking down at you. My beloved miracle father took 3 kids out of an orphanage in Russia. So we weren't adopted. And my mother and my father, we would have not known love. I would have not known anyone else. Dad. Sorry. So sorry. I know how much love you. I know how much you literally care for her. And I'm going to tell you this. If you guys didn't do anything wrong, you guys love her as much as you can. And I remember also Ben and then also Rabbi mentioned, I think Rabbi Wolfheim, if I'm thinking correctly, he mentioned something about when someone passes away on Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos is the beginning of loving Shabbos. It's not just a normal day. It's a day that she's home. And I think all of us are. And I'm going to miss my birthdays. But I'm going to miss the great latkes that we had. She made one time where she passed on to the famous Gabriel Santa Chef. We're so grateful to have it. And I just want to thank, Hashem for giving us time with my grandma, and allowing her to be in my life, and in my sister and my brother's life, my cousins also. If there's so many questions that I have in my mind. I'm sure my dad and my aunt was also. It's why did Hashem want her to go? Because I don't understand why. I think in Hebrew, Madua means why, if I'm correct. And I'm thinking why all the time to myself after I did on Friday. And I think it's because you're here for a mission. Whether or not how painful it can be to lose someone that you love with your mother, whatever. The pain, it hurts. It's really strong. And the last thing is I want to put everyone here a blessing. I'm not a Cohen though, but I really pray to God that if I come back here to Denver, it's going to be for a simple, not for a holy Hashem that goes with Hashem. Because there's too much sadness. And in memory of my beloved Bobby, will be a blessing for me. I hope to give it to my children. How with my just want to thank also Rabbi Milmon, and I've heard a lot about you from that. Thank you so much for coming today. Great heart. I'm honored to have you. We've also, there's some other rabbis here also. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thanks for the community here. It looks pretty big for Paula, so very, very fun. Very nice to see that. Always people who care. Let's just meet on better terms. Next session. Thank you guys.
Everybody coming. I could say I know how you feel because when you deal with it, journey, because my own mother passed away 2 weeks ago. Really? It's not hard. And I was there too. A mother, no matter the ups and downs, the relationship is always there. Always there to listen, to care, to remark, to comfort, to cook, to embrace, and to mother. It's an irreplaceable loss, heartbreaking loss. Bubby, as my kids called her, but cousins called her old mommy. And she wanted me to call her Sugar. She was Paula. She was a lovable character, full of fun. I remember her shocking my kids as she deftly cleaned a fish with its head on in my kitchen sink. She was a big proponent, as you've heard already, of the clean plate club. We have photos of her holding up the kids' clean plates. They ate everything. She would always add her musical chimes to the benching melody, which made us all crack up. She loved family, as can be seen in her dedication to the genealogy of her family. She always would send the kids money for their birthdays and Hanukkah out every year. When I first met Ted, not only did I fall in love with him, but I fell in love with his family. And she was a matriarch. Sugar, Paula, Omani, Bubby, we will miss you. Rest in peace.
You're in there and I'm just looking around and everyone knows I have problems with my eyes. So make sure that I can get. I do want to thank everyone here for being your faces. We all have trouble with our eyes in this family, so. I didn't really write everything out. I kind of just want to speak, so I ask for your patience. Rabbi, I am going to thank everybody that Rabbi Engel, the young Rabbi Engel, and well, both young, came to Rosemark, I guess it was only 2 days ago, as my mother was passing away. Before I say that, I just so honored that I've made great relationships with everybody in this room, and particularly clergy and rabbis, candors. But Rabbi Engel came there and said all the appropriate prayers, and what stood out for me, he said, there's an aroma when someone is leaving the world, and then there's an aroma when a new baby is born. My mom and I talked a lot about the circle of life. A friend here, Sarah, who always talked about the circle of life, and I know my mom really believed that. I have a lot of things to say, but I'm comforted in knowing that she lived a long, full life. tell she was leaving, and I really love babies, and I'm hoping I see some. And for the circle of life, and that is the circle of life. I don't understand why she was taken on Friday, but that was her time, and it was time for new birth. Anyway, I learned so much from my mother. She was always way ahead of her time. Her parents were immigrants. I'm repeating a little bit what my brother said, from Ukraine. Paula had a younger sister named Lee, who I'm a lot like. She was very artistic. A lot of her talents. She did have my brother said childhood diabetes. She was 7 years younger, and a lot of attention was paid to Lee, and my mother was kind of left aside, but not in a bad way. I really loved my grandparents. That's another story, but so my mother's mother, Faye, who actually Tiffany and Nora, I think I'm named after. Baby. Would cook really healthy foods, and that was a long time ago, so she wanted to make sure her daughter had healthy foods as being a diabetic back then. And so my mother learned all these things about cooking healthy, and then she did become a home economist. And we did grow up keeping kosher. I'm kind of proud to say I've never in my life eaten fast food, even in Israel where it's kosher. And I only grew up eating really healthy foods because my mother knew about that. I would go to Palmer Elementary School, and she'd make me a sandwich with whole wheat bread, and I didn't know what white bread was, and I would try to trade with somebody, and no one wanted to trade. So our desserts were stone ground whole wheat zucchini bread, and I never ate a candy bar, but now I eat plenty of it. So that's why I don't look my age, and I was taught to be healthy, exercise, take care of the body, get passionate. I really appreciate that she raised us that way. She was very proud of me. I am a speech pathologist. She did love that I did that. She gave me a suggestion to do that career. And it has been a very good career, and I'm very good at what I do. I'm sorry, in my eyes, she was one of my students. And employees. So anyway, I'm just gonna kind of say a few more things. I really did learn from my mother to enjoy life and have fun. She loved to have fun. She would always pose for pictures, kind of how I do. I just called one of my cousins today, and he reminded me that she was like a teenager. She was never really super mature, but she always was silly, and she reminded me that she was that way. She loved fashion. I am also wearing her dress and her jewelry and her hat. She loved hats, and she was way ahead of her time. She sewed most of her clothes, and then she had an old sewing machine, and she didn't get rid of that. Like everyone said, she loved genealogy. There were tons and tons of books about genealogy, and she would ask pretty much every day, "Are you going to throw those away?" So I would assure her, "We're not going to throw them away. Gabriel Milmon Sanders is going to assure that they get passed down," right? My mom was always very savvy, very resourceful, very, very intelligent. They grew up in modest means, but they had really frugal. My mother and Jeremy were very frugal, but lived a great life, but like you said, never waste anything. I really tried to be that way.
hard, but it's a good thing to try to do. She's super spunky, very independent. She kind of kept some secrets from me until I really figured things out. I don't think she wanted to burden me. I know she would thank me for taking care of her and Jeremy. She loved coming here to this very chapel, to this synagogue. She asked me last week, can I go to shul? And I'm not gonna lie, she did mostly like a kiddish. She had a lot of friends here, and I know she would ask me about getting people in this room frequently. So she, like Rabbi said, she was a big warrior. I do think that that was something that didn't help her. Had a lot of anxiety. Tried to help her with that. You know, I try not to have guilt, but I wish I would have been able to help her more with that. I could inherit that. So it's something to really work on to get help. I know I'm leaving out a lot of things, but I just really do want to thank Jeremy the most. Jeremy is a wonderful man, a very big, kind heart. He loved my mother, he still loves her, but he took great care of her to the last second. So grateful. I promise I'll always be there for you. I just want to thank Elsa, Naomi, and Estella. They are my family. Elsa's my sister, right? Without them, we'd be in trouble. I do want to thank all the rabbis, the Rabbi Engels, the wives. Thank you so much for always being there for me. And I'm looking around. I want to thank you, Marie. She's been so good to me. And I remember I had a problem with my eyes, so I see the vestments. Spent many special times together. Forever grateful. I love you guys. The neighbors, I see you. Thank you for always being so good to my parents. Could just keep an eye on Jeremy, say hi, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for everything. And I know I'm missing people, but I see a lot of my best friends. The support system. Thank you, say Lisa. Thank you. Audrey, Julie, Alicia, I know Sarah, Mark. My eyes are bad, so I keep saying that. Even our cat has eye problems. So thank you, everyone. And then let me say thank you to my nephews and my niece. I love you guys so much. We're so important to me. I hope that we can just have fun together and have a great time. And I'm always here for you, whatever you need. Don't forget it. I want to say to my sister-in-law Danielle, she's really a sister. So grateful for you. And when my brother met you, I said, "What's Danielle like?" And he said, "Oh, you." So I said, "Well, you better marry her." Baruch Hashem. And then I'm going to say something about my children, but I want to make sure that Marty, Rabbi Chaitowski is a very good friend. I'm sorry I wasn't here. Support team, of course, I call him every time I have an issue, and that's pretty often. So he's always there for us. Thank you so much. Then I'll briefly just thank my children. And if I left anybody out, please don't be offended. Victor Roth, thank you. Come in here and sit down. Thank you all. All right, my baby, Gabriel. So I think I'm a pretty good speaker. So Gabriel's my baby. When I was I'm actually gonna start with the oldest person. Benjamin, everyone knows him. He's got a big personality. I know he got that from me. He's a wonderful, kind-hearted soul. He's a wonderful person. He's never done anything. He learned a habit, and he's not a good one, kind of speak your mind. So he never means any harm. And I love you so much, Benjamin. He has been there for me every second of the way. He has gone with me. It's hard for me to drive, so he drives me around. And he was been there for both of my parents. And he was with me when Paula passed away. So, very strong. And then I'm going to talk about these two people here, those people. So I have a son, and then I asked Hashem, I just told Rabbi Angelis that I really wanted twins. I asked Hashem for twins, and Hashem gave me these beautiful twins. So 20 months later, I had a set of twins. So I had 3 children in 20 months. There they are. So the younger person, Dava, is an amazing person, very bright, sensitive, kind, sweet. He is a great chef. He's like a Renaissance man. He did make a wonderful film about my parents. I hope you all can see it. I don't say everything right now, I know how much I love you so much. And Steph, you're a wonderful daughter, and like Danielle said, there is a special relationship a mother has with a daughter. Sometimes it's not easy, and sometimes not easy with boys, but we're very, 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 very close as my mother, so she's here. All of you, my children, if it's time for me to go, I think it'll be okay. I have a little time left, but be okay. So I'm just gonna say one more thing. I just want to ask a wish of people in this room. I've learned something this process. If you feel like you have grudges against people or you're angry with them, I beg you to forgive people. We have an open heart. I actually called a couple cousins this morning, we had a little issues, and I said, I'm sorry. So I am gonna ask for forgiveness for everybody. I'm sure I've done some things that aren't nice, but will you forgive me? And I'm asking everyone in this room to please be kind and nice to each other. And I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I just wanna also thank my mother did go see a doctor, Dr. Amy Kelmanson. She saw her every week, 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. She had ended up having to lose an eye, and I just didn't want her to lose her other eye, so she had to keep going to an eye doctor for 10 years. And sometimes she went there 3 or 4 times a week, and I just wanted to read, her name is Dr. Amy Kelmanson, and she's a great eye doctor. She wrote me back. I hope she passes peacefully. I certainly have Paula, you, and the rest of your family in my thoughts today. It's been an honor to get to know her over these past 10 years. She will be missed. Thank you for letting me know. So, many doctors have been so kind and nice. Every time I'm gonna end now, every time I would see my mother recently, feeling how she would say 2 things. I don't want to be alone. And then she would say, come back, come back. Sorry, I didn't come back enough. I'm gonna miss you, Mom, and I'll never forget you. And my heart.
Okay, well, so I can't tell you how much I love Paula. Just like it. So, now it's 43 years later. You're right. Just want to sing a little love song. It's a Hamilton song. There I go. If you hear a song blue, like a flower sighing for the tree, that was my heart serenading you. I pray you to have ears. If you hear a song that flows from my tender sentimental rose, that was my heart trying to compose. I'll pray you to have ears. So it's just a simple melody, nothing fancy, nothing much. You could turn it to a symphony, a Schubert tune, the Gershwin touch. Oh, how my love song gently sighs for the tenderness within your eye. Our love is a prelude that never dies. A prelude to a kiss.
You know, music is a very big part of Judaism. Yesterday, I was over the beautiful words, Az Yashir Yisrael. So sang Israel. And Moshe's name is not in that song, because every day we say Az Yashir Moshe, Uvenei Yisrael. It's the song of the sea. But this was a very special song that the children of Israel sang in the desert, thanking Hashem for giving them water. Water is life. And many of you said the word circle, circle of life. And Debbie asked me to sing one of my favorite songs by one of my favorite American poets and musicians, none other than Tony Mitchell, who wrote this beautiful song. So when we get to the chorus, please sing with me, okay? Yesterday a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't turn, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game. I'll leave it there. Please rise for the Kemalei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. And I think Mr. Cohen will give us some instructions about things. Kezar Mazehirim Ebenishpat Peruduba Vadover Fegat Sipora Shehalcha Began Eden began Tehem Chata Ana Baal Rachamim Hastireha V'seiter Ginavech Leolamim V'titzrar Achayim Shmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Yishkava V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest, the shelter of your holy presence, among all holy who have gone before, to the soul of Peril Duba Badok Ber, the Fega Tzipora, to Paula, Milmon, Hutt. O Lord, remember all the righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. Tehinishmatat Surah Yitzrah Chaim, may her soul be bound up in the soul of the living. And let us sing.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our service here at the BMH. We'll have the BJ congregation. We will have interment at Rose Hill Cemetery, which you are all invited to join us for. However, we do not have an escorted procession today. So if you'd like to join us at the cemetery, we'll ask you to start making your way to the cemetery as soon as possible. Please don't delay with conversation in the foyer. Please get to your car. If you end up following a hearse in the family cars, you're welcome to do so, but I need to remind you, since we're not in procession, you must obey all traffic laws, just as we're going to. We'll ask you to remain in your places as we escort the family out first. If you see them grabbing their phones or using the restroom, please hold your condolences back just a little bit, because we do need to get to the cemetery and we have to try to conclude the service.
Yeah, I want.
Right, so the family would like to invite you for Shiva after burial. It is all in those handouts at 870 Hudson Street. They'll be returning immediately after burial. Midian will be at 4:30 p.m.-ish. So please join us. I'll make a Midian. And again, please remain in your places as we escort the family out.